everybody, I'm Lisa Young Sutton, and today we are looking at the Lenormand Tower. As the card of longevity, it doesn't just refer to a long length of time, but being able to stand your ground for a long period of time. The Tower is an indicator of the seeker's ability to remain untouchable and stay on top of things for the duration of the spread's time period. The core energy of this card is positive neutral. Its core meaning is actually positive, but because of its connection to bureaucracy, rules, and regulations, I just could not make it purely positive. I mean, back in the 60s and 70s, we would have referred to this card as the bureaucracy man, the establishment man, the man, right? Yeah, we would have called it the man. And we didn't want to be controlled by the man. Yeah, so that connection to authority made it hard for me to put this card in the purely positive category. Okay, now let's look at the words and phrases associated with this card. Duration, length, longevity, staying power, stronghold, fortitude, backbone. Interestingly, anatomically, it's the card that refers to the spine too. So backbone is a good word to understand this card's core essence. Okay, authority, institutions, organizations, tall buildings with many layers or levels, such as apartment buildings. Large public buildings with some sort of vested authority, such as schools, hospitals, prisons, or courthouses. Anything related to the government, bureaucracy, legal or official matters, hierarchies, ambition and striving to advance, a need to protect privacy or establish boundaries, rising up to gain a higher perspective, placing oneself above others, uneven relationships. It can show up as the pressure to conform, restrictions, limits, rules, laws, red tape, legalities, and formalities, corporate, executive issues, politics. It can even represent high expectations. Because of its references to striving to advance and a wide gap between those on the top and the bottom, it's the card of ambition and ego, right? So now that your heads are swimming with all of those ideas, let's go back to the essence of the card, because this is a card that has so many facets that you have to start somewhere. You have to hone in on that core function first. Otherwise, you are lost with all of the possibilities, right? So, what's the first thing you want to think of when you see the tower? Something long-standing, long-lasting, solid, set in stone, unchanging, unshakable, multi-leveled, organized, institutions, right? It can describe things that separate or divide, organize, or prioritize. Now, I love the words bastion and bulwark for this card. A bastion is a well-fortified position, and a bulwark is something serving as a defense or safeguard. Another great word is institution, which is any long-established person, thing, or practice. An institution is a fixture, so it's not just most people think of a building or an organization when they think of the word institution, but it's really anything that's just long established, and it's a fixture. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to change. Organization is another good word for tower, either as an association or business, or a manner of accomplishing something in an orderly and efficient way, right? We can use organization as a noun or a verb, or an adjective. Adverb. All right, it's not an English lesson. Okay, authority is another meaning. And it was actually my primary vibe for quite a while, you know, going back to that early distrust of the man. But what is authority? Authority is a person or agency with administrative powers. So authority can be your own authority to command, control, or determine something. The idea or the idea of something requiring authorization. Okay. Let's see. Descriptive terms include high, tall, long, multi-layered, multi-leveled, rigid, cold, official, established, organized, prioritized, structured, and firmly established. If you're describing a person, physically, they could be tall, thin, older, or an older appearance. Their personality may be ambitious, a loner, an introvert, focused on long-term goals, egotistical, judgmental, arrogant. They may have a superiority complex or a lofty self-image. They may be a bureaucratic, rigid rule follower or an authority figure. Someone who's made it to the top or acts like they're there. A CEO, an official, someone with status. The top dog, the big cheese, el jefe, an executive, a politician, legislator, or describing an occupation. It could be an architect. All right, so in daily draws, other than referring to having the fortitude to stay on top of things for the next 24 hours, or it's reference to anything that's long-lasting, for me it often appears to remind me to get organized. And being a free spirit, I need this reminder a lot. So for all of you fellow Pisces and or fellow double Pisces out there, you know what I'm talking about. It may refer to something official or an act of power or control in your daily. Okay. Now this is a card that actually has a directional cue. The card sitting above the tower can explain what the seeker needs to consider to gain clarity on a situation. So I use this card for that purpose in advice and the how am I doing GTs. Or if you're from New Jersey, it's the how am I doing GT. Okay, so in advice readings, the tower can tell you to rise above, be more ambitious, aim high, work hard, get organized, prioritize your projects. You need more structure, work towards something bigger than yourself. I like that one. Solitude is your friend right now. Take the higher ground. Ooh, that's a good one too. Gain a higher perspective. Distance yourself from the situation. You're too rigid. Stop being so cold. Come down from your ivory tower. Aim high and stay strong, right? Now, this is a big one for all of you young people out there who are performing lots of relationship readings. You're out there dating, right? In relationship readings, there are two ways to see this card. Which one will depend on the question and the other cards, right? Because it can describe a formal, official, and long-standing or long-term relationship. But on its own, there's nothing warm and fuzzy about that. You would still want to see some warm and fuzzy cards in there, right? If you're talking about a romantic relationship. Now, with unfavorable cards, it may indicate an uneven relationship, uneven as in a big gap between ages or status or values or ideals, whatever it is. If it shows up with the whip, it can indicate power struggles. If it shows up with the mountain in a relationship reading, it's going to refer to isolation, as in, you know, holding oneself apart from the other or being inaccessible. Now, if you're simply asking if something will last, right? Like if your relationship will last, the tower says yes, right? If that's just all you're asking. If you're asking about feelings or emotions, it's a cold and rigid card of unevenness and resistance to change, right? So you can see how important your question is in small spreads. All right, so in work readings, it can refer to the corporation or the corporate office or the main headquarters. It can refer to tenure, rules and regulations, or the one who makes them, right? A need for authorization, or the ambition to move from the mailroom to the penthouse suite, right? All right, so let's, I don't have much to say about the cards because for the most part, all decks basically show a tower, right? So let's see what the verse card says. It says, the tower is a sign of happiness for you growing as long as no storm in the clouds is showing. And I will explain that in a moment when we talk about the plot and the method of distance guidelines. All right, so let me, oh, where's my hair? Let me get this guy out. All right, here I'm going to use my Under the Roses deck for this, for some comparisons. Okay, are we in focus here? Yes, we are. Okay, so we can compare this card to several other cards, right? So regarding longevity, what would be the opposite of longevity? If you were asking, like, will something last a long time, or you want to see if something will last a long time, okay, the tower says that something's going to last a long time. What would be the opposite of that? The most obvious is the coffin, because the coffin is bringing the end of something or a severe illness to something, right? Or the scythe to show an interruption, right? Removal of something, or even the clover when it refers to temporary or short-term things, right? These are all the opposite of a long length of time. So those are opposites. So what are some cards that also refer to a long length of time? Well, we have the tree, of course. The tree indicates a long period of time, but the tree is a passive card, right? The tree is a passive card that asks for patience in order to bring something to a healthier state, right? So it's kind of like you're striving to get to a healthier state, whereas the tower refers to already being in a strong position and being able to hold it for a long period of time, right? Or you're already in a solid position. You're already in the tower, right? And you're gonna stay in there and in that unshakable tower, right? Okay, so the tower is having a grip on things for a long period of time. Okay, the lily is another card that we think of as a long period of time, but it is, and it's also another patience card like the tree. But the lily is the card of retirement and rest and the satisfaction of being there, right? So remember I said the tower is tenure and the lily is retirement. The tower also, another comparison between these two is the tower is referring to ambition and ego, which is the opposite of the philanthropic and benevolent lily card. All right, so regarding the idea of having a stronghold, we can compare it to the anchor. Because the anchor refers to having a secure grip on something. I mean, that's what anchors do, right? They hold you in place. The anchor gives you an advantage when you drop it on solid ground. It's unwavering and holds you steady. Now, the tower can refer to being able to stay there in that fortified position for a long time, or the time it takes to climb up to the place where you'll drop your anchor, right? But this is hanging on for a long time. So this is just length of time. This is, you got to where you want to be, you drop your anchor, and this is staying there for a long time. Okay. Now regarding solitude, we can compare it to the mountain. And in this sense, the mountain represents being isolated by external forces or location, whereas the tower is more often self-imposed solitude through personal choice, right? Unless it's representing a prison, of course. So when we talk about solitude, isolation, or even confinement, which one we choose will depend on the context and the other cards, right? Also, we refer to the mountain as borders, right? It's one of the cards for borders, but the tower is border control. So here we have borders, border control. Okay, we can compare it to the garden because the tower is the introvert, whereas the garden is the extrovert. The tower is restrictive and the garden is expansive. We can compare it to the child because the tower is reserved and possibly introverted, like I said. Whereas, oh, and here the mountain too, right? Wait, let's get the mountain back into this. Right? So let's do it this way. Wait. Hang on. There we go. So if the tower is reserved and introverted, the mountain is defensive and stubborn, and the child is shy and insecure. Right? You can see the differences between those. And introverted is not the same thing as shy. Many people are introverted and not shy at all, and I am one of them. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. Let's lastly compare it to the dog, because the tower is formal and rigid, and the dog is friendly and casual. Okay. Now, enough comparisons. Contrast and compare. Thank you, Guns N' Roses deck. Wait, hang on. Let me get out my book. What are we doing for the, let me see here. Okay. Let me read you the plot. Tower, my written in book. There we go. Hang on, I gotta read this. Okay. The tower gives the hope of a happy old age, but if surrounded by clouds, it forebodes sickness and, according to circumstances, even death. Now that sounds so ominous, but let me explain it. All right. The tower references a degree of control. Hang on, I'm going to get out the GT that I'm about to show you. Let me zoom. Wait. Hang on. Where am I going? This will fit, right? Yeah. Excuse me while I talk to myself. It's that morning sun. The morning sun blinds me here. Okay, so let me reread the plot real quick. It's the tower gives the hope of a happy old age, not just an old age, a happy old age. That's very important. But if surrounded by clouds, it forebodes sickness and, according to circumstances, even death. Oh. All right, so the tower references a degree of control and the ability to stand strong for the entire time period of the spread. Okay, that's important. Now, if you're laying GTs, say you get a GT read for you every 4 months, right? Let's say every 3 months, right? And you're reading a GT for 3 months. Well, do you think that, the cards are going to tell you every 3 months that you're going to die? No. Okay, so yeah, let's kind of get past that. All right, so if the tower is referencing a degree of control and the ability to stand strong for the time period of this spread, the surrounding cards will describe the quality of that time span. All right, so the tower nearby is telling you that you're going to stand strong and stay on top of things throughout the entire spread period, though the other cards are going to tell you, like, how much you're up against, right? Regarding that, like, the details. The other cards will provide the details. All right, so troubling cards nearby will bring problems, right? But the tower there will provide a level of protection and the ability to rise above those issues. Therefore, we always want to see this card in the comfort zone. Now, when it's far, you won't have the same control or degree of untouchability for the time period of the spread. You could say that you'll be on shakier ground or unable to see the full picture, right? You can't climb to the top of that tower, right, to see to get the best view, right? And without that broader perspective, you may not be able to rise above life's issues easily. So the worst placement for this card is out of your reach, with the clouds above it and the dark side of the clouds facing the seeker. That is the traditional worst placement for this card. So all you need to remember right now is that you want it near, in your GTs, you want it near no matter what other cards are around it. Or you want it far. I mean, if it has to be far, you at least want no negative cards near it or near your card, right? And that goes without saying. Okay, so the tower is part of the health or well-being cluster, along with the tree, the clouds, the coffin, and the whip. Now, notice that it's the only positive card of the cluster, and it's the only card you want nearby when you're reading for health and well-being. I mean, the tree near is showing that there's a need to examine the well-being issue of the seeker further, but don't panic if the tree is near the seeker, because it may just be a warning that it's time to start taking better care of your physical or mental or emotional or spiritual health, right? When we look to see where the tower is, or okay. So, all right, so if the tree is near you, like I said, you're being asked to consider your well-being, right? We then look to see how close the tower is, right? And then we check for where is the coffin and the whip and the clouds, okay? I mean, because the coffin brings a serious illness or the death of your fortitude, right? It drains the life out of whatever is behind it or below it. The whip represents friction, which equals heat, which equals pain, inflammation, infection, or fever. It's also the card of struggling, battling something, or repeated or recurring issues, right, that you have to battle. And the clouds is the card you don't want near any of them because it casts troubles and doubts and confusion. All right, so now let's see the tower in action here, because I just asked for a good teaching example using the tower, and I laid this GT out, and we're just going to read it as it fell, okay? So here we just happen to have the lady and the gentleman both not both touching, but both in the comfort zone of the tower and the tree. All right, so that's just how they fell. This, by the way, is the Wonderland Lenormand, which if you check the description box under all my videos, you can see there where to get this deck and others. All right, so I know it's a bit busy for videos. I use this deck a lot for my personal readings, not so much in videos because it is a little busy, but we're not reading this whole spread, so I thought this would be a good time to use it because I love it. All right, so now, if we chose the man for the seeker, 28, right? He has the tree near, okay? Which we don't want to see, right? But he also has the tower near. So the tower is saying that even though he has to maybe deal with some health issues, he's got the fortitude to deal with them, right? So what else can we say about him? Well, he also has the sun for the strength and optimism, right? And he's being blessed by the lily. He's got all the Providence cluster here. So he's got people to help him and support him. He's got luck on his side. We can say he's at the summit of the mountain, right? He's above the mountain. So even though that's what he's standing on, he's kind of like, rising above it, we could say. Yeah, he's in a good position here, right? And where's the clouds? The clouds is way over here and dark side away. So this is actually, even though he has the tree here, all these other cards really make it so much better. These are other tree cards too, right? We have other tree cards here. So it's more, this is more of like just a warning for him, than telling him he's got an actual issue, really. All right, now what if she's the seeker? So if she's the seeker, because these two are so close and they share so many cards, it's almost the same story, but it's a little worse for her because she's on the bottom, right? And the mountain is above and ahead of her, right? The tower was touching him, right? But it's actually, it's in her comfort zone, but it's not touching her, right? And she also has the snake in the book, which he doesn't have. They both have the whip. So yeah, so it's almost the same story for her, but it's just like a little, it's kind of like, you know, his is good and hers is just a little bit worse, right? So we can also say, too, I want to point out that yes, the tree is draining the energy out of the tower a bit, being above it, okay? So yes, you can say that, but then you have these other cards that are kind of balancing that out, right? So what did I say is the worst position for the tower? If we had this same, let's pretend he's the seeker, if we had this same cluster over here, now if we put the tower far from him with the clouds above, even though it's the light side facing, for this particular spread, that would be the worst placement for the tower, okay? All right, now, so let's look at the tower in other ways. Let's, what if we were reading around the anchor as the work card, okay? So if we move the tower over there, let's put the tower under it. Right, so now the tower is a describing card, right? It's describing the your work. You're reading for work now. Well, right here, look at that. We have the whip and the tower showing power struggles at work, and here we have, you know, ooh, we have a new deceit, right? Yeah, okay, and we have some new information coming to light. Yeah, look at that. We'll say it's her work, right? Or if it was his, it would be like new information is coming to light about somebody you work with who's deceiving you, power struggle. Wow, look at that. Okay, so if we put it with the letter, right? The letter is our card for significant news during the time period. So what if we stuck it over here? Well, now we already have a bunch of crappy cards around this. So she's getting some, or he, we could say he's getting some bad news during the time period. And the tower with the letter makes it official news, okay? Let's see, what else? How about if we stuck it by the, okay, let's look at it as an apartment building. Where's the stork? Here, let's put it by, oh, here we go. There. Okay, now we're reading for the woman, and we have the tower up here with the stork and the crossroads and the garden. So she just decided to move into a garden apartment. Boop. Okay, so let's put it with, because it's like police and that. Ooh, wait, hang on. Let's put it over here with the dog. Let's put it with the dog, and if it were with the dog, and what else would I want there? Where's that whip? I would want it with the dog and the whip, and what happened to the whip? You can see what I mean about this, the deck, you know, when you have a busy deck, it's, you know, the whip is right there. It's not so easy to find things right away. Okay, so if we had it with like the dog and the whip and the tower, and where's the fox? And the fox, right? If we have the dog and the fox and the tower and the whip, maybe even the scythe in there, that's a police canine. That's a police canine, and he's gonna sneak up behind you, and he's gonna give you a serious butt whooping. Gonna give you some kick ass. All right, so anyway, wow, yeah. So you can see how the tower will show up in different ways in your spread. That's not where that was. Whatever, it doesn't matter. This isn't a real spread. Okay, so that's it. So I hope you found that informative and enjoyable, and I will see you in the next video. I think I have the book coming up next. So as always, thanks for watching, and go play with your cards. Bye, everybody.